Hi everyone, I'm Madeline Park, stylist and vintage fashion hound. I believe everything has a story, whether it be clothes or the people that wear them. Currently our stories may be warped by a world pandemic, but I want to focus on what we can control. So this is Style at Home, a bonus mini-series following season 1 of Style Stories. I sit in my closet with old and new peers and discover how they dress in isolation. Together we address their style at home. Today I'm chatting with Neale Whitaker, interior design connoisseur, well known as the debonair host of Australia's most popular home television programs, The Block and Love It or List It. Also former editor for Vogue Living and Belle magazines, there is a certain air to Neale that demands respect. But beyond his elevated style and tasteful presence, it's his charm and compassion that is so engaging. We talk about meditations, renovations, and other permutations, but we also discuss kindness and how it's Neale's style to bring that home. So, Neale, the way I wanted to start this interview was just to say thank you. When I first started working in magazines, I worked for ACP and I was working for Lisa Sinclair at NW, and you would have been the editor at Belle, and we often shared a lift together, and although we'd never been formally introduced, you always would say hello, acknowledge me, and give me a smile. And I'm sure you can appreciate that those hallways could be a bit intimidating at times. So your kindness was, though they were little gestures, they were never lost on me. So thank you for that. I just wanted to say that.
It's funny how many people I speak to these days that say the same thing, that they have the lifts at ACP or the lifts at Bauer. I mean, people that obviously didn't used to sort of introduce themselves or say hello, but remember me saying hello to them. So it's kind of nice. It's kind of nice.
Yeah. Well, and well, I think it's that thing that when you're starting out, it is all a bit overwhelming, and especially in a magazine environment as it was, 10 years ago. So I know that in my career, even people have now said that back to me, and for you, it's probably, as for me, a very natural thing to just be polite and say hello. But it does mean a lot when you're a bit insecure about where you're sitting at that point in time. So anyway, I know that being kind is really important to you, and I know in another interview you've said that more than your illustrious media career, you'd like to be remembered for being kind. And I guess in these current times, kindness is needed more than ever. So I just wanted to ask how you're manifesting that right now.
That's a very good question, actually. I think I'm trying to be kind to myself at the moment. I'm sure there's lots of people out there saying the same thing. There's no doubt that we are going through very stressful and anxious times at the moment, the like of which we've never seen before. No one's experienced anything like this before. It doesn't matter how old you are. There's no one on the planet that's experienced anything quite like what's happening at the moment. And I think it's very easy to sort of spiral downwards, and disappear down a rabbit hole of despair. So I'm trying to be kind to myself, not to get too anxious and emotional and stressed. It's not always easy because I do that sometimes. But I have to keep reminding myself that this is a temporary situation that we're going through, that I'm incredibly fortunate for the opportunities that have come my way. I mean, like everyone, my work has come to a halt at the moment. I can't film at the moment.
Yeah.
Hopefully when the virus is behind us and we come out the other side, I will still have a job to go to. There's far less fortunate than me. So I feel very lucky, and I do have to keep reminding myself that, and just not pushing myself too hard, because if you're not kind to yourself, then it's very hard to be kind to other people. You know, you've got to start with yourself, treat yourself with kindness and respect, and then I think that can really flow on to the way you treat other people.
Absolutely. So in terms of just managing that anxiety, I know you've practiced Buddhism in the past. Is that correct? Are you returning to any of those principles, or?
You know what? It's really funny you should ask that. I mean, I used to practice Buddhism a very, very long time ago. I mean, we're literally talking Madeline, in the 1980s. I was very young. And I hadn't practiced Buddhism for a long, long time, decades. But, you know, it doesn't matter whether you're practicing or not. Some of the teachings that you learned or took on board back in the past, you know, they stay with you for a lifetime. They're always there in the back of your mind. And it did actually occur to me just a couple of weeks ago when I was at home one morning that it would be good to start meditating again. And I rolled out a yoga mat and
Yep.
on the deck with one of my dogs by my side, one of the dogs who is sick at the moment. Long story short, I started meditating and I started sort of breathing and doing everything. It's all coming back to me, and I thought, this is beautiful, this is lovely, I should do this more often. And then he started barking because he needed attention. The moment was broken and I haven't returned to it again.
Yeah.
Something I'm not going to start practicing Buddhism again, I don't think, but getting back maybe into one of the meditational practices would be a good thing.
Yeah. So in terms of, you obviously said a lot of your work is halted at the moment. What are you occupying your time with in isolation?
Well, I've always got some projects bubbling away. The bulk of my work, obviously, is around making television. I do the block once a week, you know, for Channel 9 at this time of year, normally. But during the week, I film a show for Foxtel called Love It or List It Australia, and we film that all over the country. So normally, at this time of year, I would be sort of in Brisbane one day, Melbourne the next, Sydney the next, busily shooting. And of course, that's all come to a grinding halt for the foreseeable future. But I still work very closely with King Living and with Luxaflex. They're my clients. I'm their brand ambassador. And we still have a lot of work that we're doing together at the moment. I'm also working on a big project that I can't talk too much about at the moment for a major charity.
Right.
More visible, shall we say, later in the year.
So extending those acts of kindness then.
Yes.
And sorry to interrupt you. Are you also, have you finished renovating your property in the South Coast, or is that something that is being picked up during this kind of, I guess, quiet time?
I wish it was completed. No, the property down south is a lovely work in progress. It's a beautiful old property. It is mostly renovated now. We've worked very hard over the last 18 months, but we still have the master bedroom and ensuite have to be done, and the main bathroom has to be done. The things that are still remaining in the house, and then once we get sort of outside the house, because we've got 2.5 acres of land, there's a lot of work to be done in the gardens and the paddock and outbuildings. So it is a work in progress, but it's a lovely work in progress.
Yeah. And you, I know that David, your partner, is an ex-chef. Is he still doing the bulk of the cooking, or is that something you're jumping into now that you're at home a lot and not traveling?
Madeline, he doesn't do the bulk of the cooking.
I'm using your words from a previous interview, I'm sure.
He does all the cooking simply because he loves, I mean, not only is he brilliant at it, but he loves doing it.
Yeah.
David and I have been together a very long time, 17 years. And I think we reached an agreement many years ago that the kitchen was his domain. And that's just the way it is, you know?
Yeah, fair enough. And a beautiful kitchen it is.
Beautiful kitchen it is. But no, David is very much the cook. I'm very good at going and doing shopping. I'll get in the car and go down to the IGA and I'll go to the market and do all that. And I'll gladly wash up and stack the dishwasher and everything. But the cooking, no, that's his domain.
Are you sous chef? Like, does he, or are you just completely out of the kitchen?
I have tried to be sous chef in the past. It doesn't end well. I'm not very good at being a sous chef.
No, I'm the cook in our house, and my husband is always trying to suggest that we cook together because it will be a lovely family experience. But then as he says, I just go Gordon Ramsay in the kitchen, so he just gets out. It's just safer for everybody.
Yeah, and I said you and David together, you both have Gordon Ramsay tendencies by the sound.
Yeah. You've described parts of your renovation as classic, contemporary, and a bit country. Is that correct?
That's absolutely right. I mean, it's a very traditional country style property. I mean, if you follow me on Instagram, you will have seen images of it over the last year or so. You know, it is. I think it's a very typical property for that part of country New South Wales. Single story, you know, wide veranda. It's a very traditional looking property, but we didn't want to be too traditional inside. I mean, we wanted the inside to feel contemporary, to be a contemporary version of a country style property, and that's what I think it is. I think we've achieved that pretty well. We've managed to marry sort of classic country style design with modern design. We've opened up the interior, made it feel much more open plan. Yeah, and I think it's worked pretty well.
In terms of your, description of classic, contemporary, and a bit country, would you also apply these principles to your personal style in terms of how you dress?
I probably would actually. I never thought of it in those terms, but classic, contemporary, and a little bit of country. I guess that does work.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, I'm at that stage in life where, because I'm in my 50s, you get to that stage in life where I think you kind of know what suits you. I loved fashion all my life. I started my career in the fashion industry back in the UK many years ago. And I've always loved clothes. I've always loved fashion. There have been times in my life when I've had a wardrobe absolutely full of clothes, you know?
Yeah.
I sort of pared back over recent years. And also, I guess working in television has made a bit of a difference too, because I've had to sort of land on a style that is kind of, how can I say it, identifiable, recognizable, and that works on camera. And you know, I've landed in this place that I suppose is a bit English and a bit preppy American, somewhere between the two. You know, I tend to wear a uniform these days of jeans with polo shirts and tailored jackets. And I've always loved shoes. I mean, shoes have always been my big thing. But these are either a classic English brogue or an R.M. Williams boot or a white runner.
As I mentioned before, you are always very dapper and you epitomise smart casual very well. Is anything changing while you're in isolation? Like, are you mixing anything up, or is that staying consistent while you're less visible to the public world?
You know, I could sit here and pretend, Madeline, that I'm speaking to you in black tie. Look, of course, I've relaxed a bit because you know, I'm not filming at the moment. I'm not doing meetings. You know, the odd Zoom meeting, but that's about it. I do make my little videos which I post on Instagram, but as you can see, I'm looking pretty sort of woolly and ragged at the moment.
As woolly and ragged as you get, Neale.
To me, I mean, in other words, I've grown a beard. You can always tell, actually, the first thing, when I'm not filming, the first thing I always do is grow a beard. So if you ever see me with a beard, you'll know that I'm not filming anything at that time.
Right.
try and make an effort. I mean, there have been lots of times in my life when I've worked freelance, worked from home over the years, and I guess in the past I've done everything from that thing of, you know, dressing to go to the home office as you would to go to the office, which didn't ever really work for me that well. But I've also done the sort of thing of sitting there in a grubby old t-shirt and a pair of boxer shorts and a pair of Ugg boots. That doesn't well either.
Yeah.
The medium in between, where you still feel sort of, you know, you've still got your self-respect. You know, you still feel that you could look somebody in the eye.
Yeah.
At the same time, you know, you're at home, you're relaxed. So I think it's just finding those favorite pair of old jeans or favorite pair of shorts or tracky dacks and a polo shirt. Just that, you know, you feel good about yourself.
You're an advocate for filling your home with personal items and making your home a home. So whether it be art or books or trinkets, memories from travels, do you apply this to how you get dressed, even if it's not visible to the public eye?
Oh gosh, Madeline, in what respect? You mean, do I have sort of clothing that is significant to me in some way? I'm not sure that I understand.
Okay, I'll give you an example. On your IGTV, I see that you wear little thread bands on your wrist.
I mean, yes. Look, no, I don't. I mean, yeah, I do have a couple of bracelets that I wear. I'm very pared back. I'm very simple. I don't. Look, I mean, I suppose stylistically, you could say that there are certain similarities between my views on how the home should be styled and how I dress myself. But you know, it doesn't sort of necessarily follow that everything I wear has some kind of significance. No, it's not the same. I tend to dress, it sounds terrible, but I tend to dress a lot these days for convenience. You know, that I like to sort of look as smart as I can in the shortest possible time.
Yeah.
And I do have a good stand, but I mean, you'll notice that I rarely wear anything other than navy, black, or neutrals. I don't wear colours.
Yeah.
And my wardrobe really consists of, you know, a dozen or so jackets that all, to someone else, probably all look remarkably similar.
Yeah.
I notice the subtle differences between them all. And sort of polo shirts and t-shirts and jeans. It's all very simple and very much to hand. I don't put nearly as much thought into what I wear these days as I used to. Believe me, I used to think a lot about what I wore. You know, I would start planning the next day's outfit the night before.
Yeah.
But those days are gone.
We have a mutual friend, Joshua Beggs.
Yes.
Yes. And I have interviewed him about his sense of style. We used to work together a long time ago. And he is very much of the same spirit as you. I think.
I think Josh and I have a very similar style too. I mean, I remember when I worked alongside Josh when I was at News Limited. I was editing Vogue Living, and Josh, of course, was the creative director on GQ. And we used to sit just a few desks away from each other. And we would often walk into the office in the morning looking, I think, very. He might differ. His opinion might be different, but I used to think we looked very similar. We would both sort of favour navy jackets. We would both favour polo shirts, t-shirts, and white sneakers.
Yeah. It's definitely your trademark uniforms.
Yeah, we both wear glasses these days, and we both share a love of dogs. So even though we don't know each other that well, I think we do have a lot of similarities.
Yeah. So my last question for you, Neale, is in this mini series, I've typically been asking people for tips, fashion tips for those people working from home, just to give them a boost. But given your specialism and expertise in interior design, I'm going to ask you that question, but in terms of styling the home, is there anything that people can do right now that's just to give them a boost while we're in this difficult time?
In terms of styling their home?
Yeah.
Oh, look, everyone's reacting in different ways to that at the moment. I mean, I think people are still very keen. You know, people are very house proud. Australians are much more into their homes than they've ever been before, which is a wonderful thing. I think at the moment, it's probably not realistic for people to be going out and buying a lot of furniture. Although, having said that, there are some wonderful bargains around. There really are. So if you do need new furniture items, now is probably a very good time to buy. You don't have to go to the showroom. You can buy straight online and have delivered straight to your door. But I think more of us in the current climate, being a little bit anxious about money and finances and the future generally, are probably taking comfort in the smaller accessories, just as we did a decade ago during the financial crisis. You know, we saw a massive boom in sales of cushions and rugs and home accessories. And I think that's starting to happen again too. I think now is a perfect time to be looking, before you rush out and buy anything new. I always say to people, look at what you've got. Look at what you've got, because my guess is that you can make a big impact on your home just by moving things around, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want to go all sort of Marie Kondo on you, but I mean, you can also achieve an awful lot by having a damn good tidy up and a declutter. And now that so many of us are spending much more time at home, I guess it's the time to do that. And it can have an incredibly sort of cleansing effect on your soul and your spirit if you get rid of so much clutter. And just try moving the furniture around. Putting things in different places, you know, move that chair to the other side of the room, move the sofa into the middle of the room and away from the wall. You know, play around with what you've got and you'll be amazed at how you can alter the look and feel of a room. Particularly now where we're spending a lot of time in those rooms and we're probably sick of the sight of everything that we've got. You know, I'm not suggesting people shouldn't rush out and buy themselves something new to cheer themselves up. I think it's incredibly important to do that. But before they do go out and spend vast sums of money, you know, do look at what you've got and how easily you can change the mood and feel of your room by just moving stuff around.
Okay. Well, that is some great advice, Neale. I'm sure I'm going to give it a little whirl. But I think maybe some nice new candlesticks or nice pair of earrings or something like that.
What was it they said in the global financial crisis 10 years ago? Was it lipstick sales went through the roof?
Yeah. I was working when the GFC was happening. I was working for a fashion retailer in New York. So we were at the front line of it all, and the things that this company has been around for 40 years, and so they've kind of weathered the storm of various like economic downturns. And the things that always sell during that time are sequins and staples. So, you know, the staple pair of pants and t-shirts. The people still.
You meant staple that you put in the staple gun. How is that?
A sign of desperation.
Wardrobe staples, yeah.
Yes, wardrobe staples.
But it's interesting you mentioned candles, because I forgot to mention that myself, and you're so right. I mean, there has never been a better time to go out and buy a few beautiful candles. We do it all the time. I mean, and there are such amazing choices on the market now. And you can absolutely change the mood of your room with just a beautiful scented candle. And it feels like a little treat. I mean, we have a local shop in Bury where we love to buy their regular wax candles that we put in our own candlesticks, and just sort of changing around the colors, you know, because they do beautiful shades of cream and gray and ivory and white, and just mixing around those has a wonderful effect, you know, just little things.
Yeah, it also means you can replicate a restaurant at home, doesn't it? It's a nice way to have date night at home.
Yeah, it does. It does. I mean, you know, I think we're all doing an amazing job at adjusting to the circumstances that we're finding ourselves in. You know, I love the fact that people are having, you know, dinner parties over Zoom, or just having Friday night drinks over Zoom. It's fun. It's fun, and it means that we haven't lost our sense of humor, and we haven't lost our ability to love life. And you know, I absolutely applaud it. And I think it's the same with the clothes that you put on when you get out of bed in the morning, even if you're only going as far as the bed, you know, as the corner of the bedroom. I mean, I think it's about self-respect. It's about feeling good. You know, the chances are that if you sit down at the desk just wearing your Ugg boots and your jocks, and you don't even bother to have a shower, you're going to get halfway through the day and not feel good about yourself.
Yeah.
It's much better to get up in the morning, have a shower, do everything that you would normally do to go to the office. And even if you just end up putting on a fresh t-shirt and a fresh pair of joggers or tracky dacks or something, just, you know, feel good when you're sat there behind that laptop.
Yeah.
And just remember that you never know who's going to Zoom you.
No, well, that's it. I even though I did put on makeup for our meeting today, by the time I've worked through the stress of the technology issues, I didn't feel presentable enough to leave the video on, to be fair, Neale.
I must admit, when you said we were going to conduct this interview by Zoom, I did go and put on a fresh Ralph Lauren polo.
Well, thank you.
Just in case. And then you told me that we were going to do it without video, but I've kept it on anyway. So that was your honour, Madeleine.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that respect. All right, Neale, thank you so much. I wish this could have been in person and it was a little bit more smooth sailing, but I have loved talking to you. So I really appreciate your time.
I've loved talking to you too. And look, I'm sure that at some stage we can do it all again in person down the track.
I look forward to that.
For the time being, this has been lovely. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Neale. All right. If you enjoyed listening to this episode, please go ahead to Apple Podcasts and leave me a rating or review on why my podcast is your style.